Tuesday. My mom took the house I spent 12 years paying off and gave it to my sister for her graduation. Jamie emptied her savings, $38,000, to save the house. Linda clutched her hands and promised through tears, "This house is yours. I will never forget what you did today." Standing in the hallway, watching her mother cry, Jamie wanted to believe her. But a small voice in the back of her mind whispered, "Where did all my money go?" Point 4. Aunt Maureen's warning. After the foreclosure scare, Aunt Maureen, Linda's younger sister, pulled Jamie aside. "I don't want to speak ill of my sister," she said carefully, "but please keep every bank statement, every receipt, every record of what you've paid." Jamie was confused. "Why?" Maureen hesitated. "Just in case. I've seen things over the years that worry me. I can't prove anything, and I won't accuse my own sister without proof. But protect yourself." Jamie thought her aunt was being paranoid, but she started saving documents anyway. 7 years of meticulous records filed away in a folder she hoped she'd never need. Recently, she noticed her mother seemed more anxious than usual, constantly checking her phone, stepping outside for hushed conversations. Once, Jamie overheard her mother's tense voice through a closed door. "I told you I need more time. You'll get your money." The line went dead the moment Linda saw Jamie watching. Cliffhanger. "For 12 years, I told myself I was building a future. I didn't realize I was funding my mother's secrets. And the phone calls she kept hiding were about to destroy everything I thought I knew about my family." Part 2. Rising Action. The Announcement. Objective. Escalate conflict with Linda's shocking public declaration. Deliver red herring twist. Reveal Linda's resentment stems from the diary discovery. Make audience believe they've uncovered the real reason for Linda's coldness. Show Jamie shifting from hurt to strategic thinking. Plant more clues about the true scheme. MC's timeline position. 3 weeks before Emily's MBA graduation ceremony. Main points to develop. Point 1. The family gathering. Linda summons the family for a special announcement about Emily's upcoming graduation. About 15 relatives gather at the house. Aunts, uncles, cousins. The mood is celebratory. Emily has accomplished something impressive. Jamie attends despite her unease, still hoping that family bonds might mean something. She notices her mother looks thinner, more haggard than usual. Linda keeps glancing at her phone, excusing herself for quick work calls. During one of these calls, Jamie catches fragments through the kitchen window. 60 days isn't enough. I'm working on it. Linda's voice sounds desperate. When she returns, her smile is too bright, too forced. Point 2. The brutal declaration. After dinner, Linda stands and makes her announcement. "I have wonderful news. As a graduation gift to Emily, I've decided to give her this house." She beams at Emily, who looks genuinely shocked. "You deserve a strong foundation for your future, sweetheart." Jamie's stomach drops. "Mom," she says, keeping her voice steady, "I've been sending you money for the mortgage for 12 years. The room goes quiet. Linda's expression hardens. "You were helping with household expenses. That's what family does. You promised. The deed is in my name, Jamie. You don't have any legal claim to this house." Linda's voice turns cold. "And frankly, I think it's best if you don't come to the graduation party. We don't need negativity ruining Emily's special day." 15 relatives sit in silence. No one speaks up. No one defends Jamie. She looks at her sister, hoping for something, anything. Emily stares at her plate, face pale, saying nothing. Thumbnail text. "My mum said, I know you spent 12 years paying off this house, but we're giving it to your sister for her graduation." Then she added, "And you're not invited." I just turned to my aunt and asked, "Do you want to tell them or should I?" 3 days later, my sister's big day turned into Point 3. The red herring, the real reason, or so it seems. That night, Aunt Maureen comes to Jamie's apartment. "There's something you need to know," she says. "Something your mother has never told you." After Jamie's father died, Linda found Jamie's teenage diary while clearing out boxes. She read an entry where 16-year-old Jamie wrote about discovering Dad's secret gambling and his tearful plea for her silence. Linda was devastated not just by the gambling, but by the fact that her own daughter had known and said nothing. "Your mother felt doubly betrayed," Maureen explains. "By your father and by you. In her mind, you were his accomplice. She's punished you for 20 years for a secret you kept as a child." Jamie sits in stunned silence. Everything suddenly makes sense, the coldness, the favoritism, the impossible standards. "But I was 16, she whispers. "I didn't know what to do. I know, Maureen says gently. But your mother needed someone to blame. You were easier to punish than a dead man. Point 4. Something doesn't add up. But as the shock fades, Jamie's analytical mind kicks in. The resentment explains the emotional distance, but it doesn't explain the urgency. Why transfer the house now? Why was her mother so desperate on those phone calls? Why the sudden need to exclude Jamie completely? She pulls out her folder, 7 years of bank statements, payment records, receipts. Aunt Maureen, she says slowly, I think there's more going on here. Something about money. Something Mom is trying to hide. Maureen is quiet for a long moment. I've suspected for years that Linda has a problem. The same problem your father had. But I could never prove it, and I couldn't accuse my own sister without evidence. Jamie looks at her documents. Then let's find evidence. Cliffhanger. I thought I finally understood why my mother hated me. But as I dug deeper, I realized the truth was far worse than old resentments. My mother didn't just want to punish me for keeping Dad's secret. She needed me gone because I was the only one who might expose what she was really doing. Part 3. Climax. The scheme unveiled. Main climax. Objective. Reveal the true scheme. Gambling debt plus fraudulent transfer plan. Show Jamie's strategic, legally sound response. No dramatic party crash. Execute confrontation through certified letters to key family members. Achieve power reversal as family turns against Linda. Emily awakens to the truth and makes her choice. MC's timeline position. The week before and day of Emily's graduation party. Main points to develop. Point 1. Jamie's investigation. Jamie consults a real estate attorney and explains her situation. Even though she's not on the mortgage, she has 12 years of bank statements showing consistent payments to her mother. The attorney requests records from the bank through legal channels, mortgage payment history that shows exactly when payments were made and when they were late. Cross-referencing with Jamie's own records reveals a disturbing pattern. Multiple months over the years where Jamie sent money on time, but the mortgage payment was late or missed entirely. Where did that money go? The attorney also pulls public records and discovers something alarming: a civil lawsuit filed against Linda by a creditor seeking judgment for $23,000 in unpaid debt. The court date is in 60 days. If the creditor wins, they can place a lien on the house. That's why she's transferring it now, the attorney explains. She's trying to move the asset out of her name before the judgment. That's called fraudulent transfer, and it's illegal. Part 1. Exposition. The Invisible Daughter. Objective. Establish deep empathy for Jamie through years of systematic unfairness. Plant subtle hints about Mom's financial troubles, without revealing the scheme. Introduce Aunt Maureen as the family's silent witness. Explain the mortgage payment arrangement in a believable way. Foreshadow the coming betrayal. MC's timeline position. Point 2. Building the case. The attorney helps Jamie compile her evidence into a clear, documented package. 12 years of payment records totaling over $200,000, the foreclosure rescue of $38,000, proof that mortgage payments were missed despite Jamie's consistent contributions, public records of Linda's debt and pending lawsuit, and a written statement from Aunt Maureen confirming Linda's verbal promises about the house. The attorney explains Jamie's legal standing. She has a strong case for resulting trust or equitable interest legal doctrines that can grant ownership rights to someone who paid for property, even if their name isn't on the deed. But more importantly, the evidence suggests Linda is committing fraud by transferring the house to avoid creditors. Point 3. The certified letters. Jamie doesn't crash the party that would be trespassing and could undermine her case. Instead, she takes a smarter approach. She sends certified letters to 8 key family members: Aunt Maureen, Uncle Frank, Aunt Dorothy, who loaned Linda $12,000 for car repairs, and 5 other relatives she still has contact information for. The letter is calm and factual, no accusations, just documentation. It presents the payment records, explains the pending lawsuit, and raises concerns about the suspicious timing of the house transfer. Each letter arrives the morning of the graduation party. Jamie doesn't attend. She doesn't need to. The documents speak for themselves. Point 4. The party implodes. At Emily's graduation party, Linda stands to make her grand announcement about the house. But the atmosphere has shifted. Relatives exchange uncomfortable glances. Before Linda can finish, Aunt Dorothy stands up slowly. Her voice is quiet but firm. Linda, I received something in the mail this morning. We all did. Linda's smile falters. I don't know what your 12 years, Linda. Your daughter sent you money for 12 years. And now I'm wondering, the $12,000 I loaned you for car repairs, did you ever actually fix your car? Uncle Frank speaks up. I loaned you $8,000 for Emily's tuition, but Emily had scholarships. Where did my money go? One by one, relatives voice their questions. Not shouting worse, calm, disappointed, waiting for answers that Linda can't give. Emily stands frozen, watching her mother's carefully constructed world crumble. Mom, she says, her voice breaking, is any of this true? Linda reaches for her daughter, desperate. Emily, honey, it's complicated. Emily pulls away. Just answer me. Did Jamie really pay for this house? Did you lie to all of us? Linda's silence is the only answer anyone needs. Point 5. Emily's choice. Emily doesn't storm out dramatically. She stands very still, processing the destruction of everything she believed about her family. Then she speaks, her voice hollow. I can't accept this house. I won't be part of whatever this is. She turns to the room. I think the party's over. Thank you all for coming. She walks to her childhood bedroom and closes the door quietly, somehow more devastating than any dramatic exit. Linda is left standing alone as relatives begin gathering their things, avoiding her eyes. Aunt Dorothy stops at the door. I expect my money back, Linda, all of it. The front door closes. Linda sinks into a chair in her empty living room, surrounded by untouched celebration decorations. Her scheme is exposed. Her family has turned away, and the creditors are still coming. Cliffhanger. My mother didn't just lose the house that day, she lost her reputation, her family's trust, both her daughters. But the legal consequences, the ones that would follow her for years, were only beginning. Jamie, 36, reflects on her childhood and the 12 years she spent paying for a house she believed would be hers. Main points to develop. Part 4. Falling action, the collapse. Objective. Deliver concrete, satisfying consequences for Linda. Legal plus, social plus financial. Show Jamie and Emily slowly rebuilding their relationship. Demonstrate Jamie's firm boundaries without cruelty. Mini twist. Linda's final manipulation attempt destroys her last chance. MC's timeline position. 8 to 10 months after the graduation party. Main points to develop. Point 1. Legal consequences unfold. The mediation process takes 4 months. Jamie presents her 12 years of documentation. Linda cannot dispute the records. The mediator rules that Jamie has equitable interest in the property based on her substantial contributions. The house must be sold, with proceeds divided according to contribution. After paying off the remaining mortgage and closing costs, Jamie receives approximately $175,000, her fair share of the equity. It's less than the $250,000 she paid over the years. Some went to interest, taxes, and insurance that don't build equity, but it's legally hers. Meanwhile, the creditor's lawsuit proceeds. With evidence of attempted fraudulent transfer now part of the public record, Linda's legal position crumbles. Additional relatives come forward, Aunt Dorothy, Uncle Frank, others demanding repayment of loans they now realise were obtained through deception. The county prosecutor's office opens an investigation into potential fraud charges. Point 2. Criminal consequences. 6 months after the party, Linda is formally charged with theft by deception, a 4th-degree felony under Ohio law. Her attorney negotiates a plea deal to avoid trial. The sentence: 18 months of probation, 200 hours of community service, mandatory gambling addiction treatment, and a court order to pay restitution to Jamie, Aunt Dorothy, and Uncle Frank. She avoids prison, first-time offender. Non-violent crime. But the felony conviction will follow her forever. When she files for Chapter 7 bankruptcy to escape her remaining debts, the court denies her discharge due to evidence of fraud. Instead, she's placed in Chapter 13, a 5-year payment plan that will consume most of her income. She moves into a small studio apartment. The house where she raised her daughters, where she orchestrated 12 years of deception, is sold to strangers. Point 3. Sisters reconnect. 3 weeks after the party, Emily calls Jamie. Her voice is raw. I've been replaying our entire childhood. All those times Mom said you were difficult or selfish. I believed her. I never questioned it. I'm so ashamed. Jamie is quiet for a moment. You were a child being manipulated by a parent. We both were. She just used us differently. You were the golden child, I was the ATM machine. That's not an excuse, it's not. But it's an explanation. You didn't know, Emily. You couldn't have known. They talk for 3 hours that night. It's not instant reconciliation, too much has happened for that. But it's a beginning. Two sisters learning to see each other clearly for the first time, without their mother's distortion between them. Point 4. Linda's final manipulation, mini twist. 8 months after the party, while awaiting sentencing, Linda calls Jamie. Her voice is small, broken. I'm starting therapy. I'm facing my addiction. I never meant for things to go this far. Jamie listens. She wants to believe her mother is changing. Then Linda continues. I'm struggling with rent, the apartment. It's so expensive. Could you help me, just this once? I'll pay you back when I get on my feet. Jamie recognizes the pattern, the same promises that worked for 12 years. But not anymore. Mom, I hope your treatment helps. I really do. But I can't give you money. That part of our relationship is over. Linda's voice shifts instantly, the mask slipping. After everything I did for you? I raised you. I gave you a home. No, Mom, I paid for that home. And I paid for your addiction without knowing it. I won't do it again. You're abandoning your own mother. I'm setting a boundary. Point 1. The responsible daughter role. Jamie grew up as the older sister who was always expected to sacrifice. After her father died when she was 6, Emily was 8, something shifted in her mother. Linda became fiercely protective of Emily while growing cold and distant toward Jamie. Years later, while cleaning out old boxes, Linda found Jamie's teenage diary and read an entry where Jamie wrote about accidentally discovering Dad's gambling problem and his desperate plea for her to keep quiet. There's a difference. Jamie hangs up. Her hands are shaking, but not from guilt. From the unfamiliar feeling of finally standing up for herself. Cliffhanger. 6 months after I stopped being my mother's safety net, I received a package in the mail. It wasn't from my mother. It was from Emily. And what was inside changed how I understood everything. Part 5. Resolution. Breaking the cycle. Objective. Deliver emotionally satisfying closure for Jamie. Show concrete evidence of Jamie's new independent life. Final twist. Emily's discovery adds a poignant but realistic layer. End with powerful thematic resonance about breaking generational patterns. Provide appropriate, not fairy tale, closure for all characters. MC's timeline position. 14 months after the graduation party incident. Main points to develop. Point 1. Jamie's new life. Jamie uses her settlement to buy a modest 2-bedroom condo. It's smaller than the house she paid for all those years, but her name is on the deed. Hers alone. She's been promoted at work to senior project manager. She started painting again, a hobby she abandoned years ago when all her money went to the family house. She goes to therapy now, working through years of being told she wasn't good enough, wasn't doing enough, wasn't worth enough. She's learning to recognize her own value without waiting for her mother's approval. She's not angry anymore. She's not waiting for an apology that will never truly come. For the first time in her life, she's simply free. Point 2. Emily's package. Final twist. Emily's package contains old documents she found while helping sort through things during the house sale. Not hidden photographs. Nothing that would suggest Linda secretly loved Jamie. Instead, Emily found something else. Old emails Linda had printed out years ago. Emails Linda sent to her own sister, Aunt Maureen, after Dad died. In one, Linda wrote, "Jamie is just like him. Secretive, untrustworthy. I look at her and see his lies." In another, "I know I'm harder on Jamie. Maybe it's not fair, but I can't help it. She knew about the gambling and said nothing. She was 15, old enough to understand what she was doing." Emily's note reads, "I found these in a box of old papers. I thought about throwing them away, but I think you deserve to know the truth. Mom made a choice 20 years ago to blame you for Dad's mistakes. That was never fair. And it was never about anything you actually did wrong. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." Jamie reads the emails. She doesn't cry. She feels something unexpected. Relief. Not because her mother's words don't hurt, they do, but because she finally has proof that it was never her fault. She was 16 years old, trying to protect her father. Her mother chose to punish her for 2 decades. That was Linda's choice, not Jamie's failure. Point 3. Linda's fate. 14 months later, Linda has completed her probation requirements, community service, therapy sessions, regular check-ins. The felony remains on her record. She works part-time at a discount store, one of the few places willing to hire someone with a fraud conviction. She lives in that small studio apartment, paying her Chapter 13 obligations. She sent Jamie 3 letters since the sentencing. The first was full of justifications explaining why she did what she did, how the gambling wasn't really her fault, how Jamie never understood the pressure she was under. The second acknowledged mistakes were made without actually admitting wrongdoing. The third, written after a year of mandated therapy, came closer to genuine accountability. The court made me go to therapy. I went because I had to. But somewhere along the way, I started actually listening. I blamed you for your father's secrets because blaming you was easier than dealing with my own grief. Linda never forgave Jamie for keeping that secret. From that day forward, Jamie represented her late husband's betrayal. She didn't know this at the time. She only knew that no matter what she did, she could never earn her mother's approval. That wasn't fair. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I finally understand what I did. Jamie read that letter 3 times. She didn't respond. Maybe someday she would. Maybe not. But she kept it the first honest thing her mother had written in 20 years. Point 4. Breaking the cycle. Jamie stands on her balcony watching the sunset. Aunt Maureen visits every few weeks now, the mother figure Jamie never had. Emily is coming for dinner this weekend. They're planning a road trip together, something they never did as kids. The sisters are building something new, free from Linda's shadow. Jamie thinks about the pattern that nearly destroyed her family. Her father's hidden addiction, her mother's hidden addiction. The lies that compounded across 20 years. She was supposed to inherit that pattern, the secrecy, the denial, the inability to face hard truths. Instead, she broke it, not by being perfect, not by forgiving everything, but by choosing honesty over comfortable lies, by setting boundaries instead of enabling, by finally believing she deserved better than crumbs of conditional love. That's her real victory, not the money, not the condo. Freedom from a cycle she refused to repeat. Ending paragraph. People ask me if I regret exposing my mother, if I feel guilty for destroying the family. I tell them, I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped pretending the destruction wasn't already there. For 20 years, my mother made me feel invisible. Used me, lied to me. Now I finally see myself clearly. And sometimes, that's the only closure you need. Final lines. Some families are bound by love. Others are bound by secrets, debts, and the people willing to pay for them. I spent 12 years paying my mother's bills and my father's debts I didn't even know existed. Now I'm finally free. Not because I got revenge, not because I got an apology, but because I stopped waiting for permission to matter. Point 2. The house agreement, age 24. When Jamie was 24, Linda wanted to buy a house but couldn't qualify for a mortgage alone. She asked Jamie, fresh out of college with a stable job, to help. The arrangement. Jamie would send Linda $1,450 each month, and Linda would pay the mortgage. This way I can maintain my credit score and keep things simple for taxes, Linda explained. In return, when the mortgage was paid off, Linda would transfer the deed to Jamie. Family doesn't need contracts, Linda said warmly. I promise this house will be yours. Jamie believed her. She sent the money every month like clockwork, never missing a single payment in 12 years. What she didn't know was that her money wasn't always reaching the bank. Point 3. The foreclosure crisis, age 29. 7 years ago, Jamie came home for a surprise visit and found a sheriff's notice taped to the front door. Foreclosure auction in 30 days. She confronted Linda, who broke down sobbing. Medical bills, Linda cried. Unexpected expenses. I fell behind. I didn't want to worry you. The bank had been sending warning letters for months, but Jamie never received them because she wasn't on the mortgage. Linda had handled everything.